Hello, guys. It's been a while since I've been here. I'm with my friend Zack from our locals, and he just went through the Austin Nationals, and he went through the Last Chance Qualifiers undefeated with his deck. If you see right there, I believe it's a ritual deck?
Yep.
In a Snake Eye Fiend Smith Tier 0 format. Tell us about your deck. How'd you beat these guys?
Well, so game 1, I played Snake Eyes Fiend Smith. We went to game 3, and I won. Game 2, I played Ubel Fiend Smith. Went to 3, and I won. Game 3 was Tempa. I 2-0'd it. And then round 4, was another Snake Eye Fiend Smith. So 3 Fiend Smith total, and then the 1 Tempa. 11 games total, and I came out on top. I was so surprised. So we'll talk about the goo. So, first we have our 3 low. That's pretty self-explanatory. Then we have a 3 Saphira, of course. Those are 2 of the main combo starters. Then we also have the 3 Diviner. That's a pretty important card there as well. And then we have the 1 Trias to go with it. So this is a pretty standard, Voiceless package. We have 1 Old Man Cerebus. We have 2 Skull Guardian, and then 2 Cerebus. So I kind of was on 1 Cerebus for a while, but the second one comes up a lot because sometimes you'll have one in the graveyard, and then you want to cheat out another one from the deck with this because this is really good against Snake Eyes. It stops inherent summons, so it's like the monster never hits the field, basically. They try to summon Little Knight, if they try to summon Promethean Princess, it really hurts those Link decks a lot. And then being able to insulate your plays, if you summon a low, or if you summon a Diviner, and then you have this in your hand, I feel pretty good about the play, because then they have to use 2 hand traps if they want to, hit me. So that's really nice. And then 1 Pendulum Graph Dragon. This card kind of came back into play. At first, I wasn't really sure how to make it, but there are some lines, if you have a certain set of cards that you can go into Pendulum Graph really easily. And then there's some extra deck goo that's associated with it. It's a spell negate. It puts itself in a pendulum zone, and then you summon an Odd Eyes from the extra deck, so you can go into Meteor Burst Dragon. But we'll talk about that in a second. So that's the monsters, in the engine. So pretty standard, and then you have your 3 Barrier. I like playing 3 Pot of Prosby, and I also have 3 Pre-Prep. This deck benefits from just having a lot of cards that say activate this and then do something. So 9 different cards total that, if I activate it, I'm searching something, I'm adding something to my hand. This is really good because it's a plus, it's a +1. Going second though, I definitely side it out. But if I'm going first, absolutely play this because it's just fire. And then you have your 2 ritual spells. That's a pretty standard one. If you draw it, it can kind of be a brick, but it's not the worst thing in the world as long as you have an actual monster to go in with it. Because sometimes they do Bestial, the Saphira or something, and then it's nice to actually have a way to ritual summon. Blessing, this card is really good because it completes the resource loop of having Barrier, Blessings, and Radiance. Because you can use Radiance to just keep popping cards, and then Blessing just gets it back. So every turn, essentially, you can be popping cards your opponent controls. So that's all pretty common. I think it's 28 cards total. So you don't really have a lot of non-engine spots. So I tried to think very carefully about what I would do. I went with a Kashtira package. So I saw a lot of people doing this with Snake Eyes kind of before Fiendsmith came out, and it seemed to work really well for them. I like the Kashtiras for a couple reasons. So they're level 7. So, if you lead off with Fenrir and then you add a Fenrir to hand, you can tribute the Fenrir, and it's a perfect level 7. Because sometimes, your low gets impermed or something, or you only have a Saphira. There's a lot of level 6s, but not a lot of level 7s. So being able to have a board breaker that you can special summon very easily that also is a level 7 is really nice. Unicorn, this card really performed a lot today. I never actually resolved Fenrir's banish effect, But this, I resolved this like 8 times, I want to say. You get the Fenrir into the unicorn, and then this allows you to just keep recurring them over and over, because you can normal summon them without tributing. In fact, you can normal summon any level 7 actually. So even if you have like the Soravis in your hand, this is a level 7. So you can actually normal summon Soravis off of birth, which is pretty cool. That didn't really come up, but it is synergistic. So being able to banish cards face down is obviously really good. But this is really nice because if you can take out those combo pieces, like if you take out the Fiendsmith Requiem, if you take out like the cards that Snake Eyes likes to extend with, like the Fire Charmer, for example, or even just cards like SP or IP, like just so they can't go into those little baby links that extend into the big ones. It's really good. And then, they either have to deal with birth or they have to deal with your Voices card. So you kind of put them in a situation where they have to choose which threat to get rid of more. And if they don't get rid of birth, then they really pay for it. I only play 7 hand traps, basically. I kind of thought about playing more, but I really wanted to lean into the Kashtira engine a lot because it synergized with my deck really well. And I felt like that it did a lot on its own, so I just chose the best hand traps I can think of, really. Imperm's great because it's not once per turn and it plays around talents really well. So even if you could draw like all 3 Imperm, which I guess if you're going first is a brick, but if you're going second, you're feeling pretty good about 3 Imperm. There was a lot of games where I'd seem to draw like 2 of these and like 1 Ash, so that was kind of nice. Ash is obviously Ash. Using it on the Requiem when they try to summon from the deck, the Tempai player I played against, he tried to summon Seals. Like, he bounced my Kashtira Unicorn in my hand, then he tried to use Seals, and I just had the Ash for it. So it just came up a lot whenever I needed it, obviously. And then the main deck Bestial, so Light and Darks are obviously in the meta right now, and they will be for a while. So main decking a Bestial is definitely not a bad idea because it should always be live, theoretically, unless you're against Tempai. And then there's a lot of dragons in this deck, so like Soravis is a dragon, and then like the Ritual Soravis is also a dragon, Pendulum Graph is a dragon, Saphira is a dragon. So you have like 3 or 4 different dragon targets for Magnemite. So it's definitely worth playing in the main deck for sure. And then I wanted to play 42 cards because Voices has a lot of soft bricks. So trying to like mitigate that even just slightly while still trying to maintain consistency, I felt like was good. So I played 1 talent because it's just, if you go first, it's great because you can look at your opponent's hand or draw 2 cards. If you're going second, it's a really great board breaker. And then TC actually won me like 4 different games. Like against a Tempai player, I had this both games, game 1 and game 2, and he just could not play because he couldn't make another Tempai. So it was just nothing. There's nothing he could do. And then talents is self-explanatory. So I definitely was surprisingly very happy with everything. I probably wouldn't change anything, honestly. Voices are really good, like board breaking kind of deck. So, I played the hand traps that I felt like were really necessary to play, but other than that, I really just wanted to lean more into like the destruction aspect of Voiceless because they can break boards pretty well, and then obviously makes really hard to kill boards because you have a free negate. Your stuff can't be targeted, so it performed very, very, very well, like against the Fiendsmith stuff. So that's all cool. We'll go into like the extra deck now, which is also nice because it's really flexible, and it makes playing Pot of Prosperity a lot easier because you don't necessarily care like what you banish. I mean, there's stuff that's like better, obviously, but we'll go into it. So 2 Dynamundo, that's like really standard. Like game 1, I'll usually go into Dynamundo because it's unlikely that they're gonna have Bell. It's unlikely they're gonna have a counter for it. So I definitely do try to go into Dynamundo if I'm going first game 1, just so we can get that extra Voices card and Spell and Trap Zone. Really comes in clutch a lot. Or you can board break with it too. Like if you have a Soravis in the graveyard that you're trying to get back into your deck, into rotation, you just target one of those and bounce one of your opponent's cards back into the deck, bounce like a Temple or something, and that's pretty great. And then super, super greedy. I have 2 little knights. You know, I guess I'm just too blessed to be stressed on that, which is nice.
Fallen!
And then I have 2 anima. So the second anima comes up a lot, actually. Like, I was playing 1 and testing, and then there was a lot of times where I really, really wanted the second anima to just take stuff like summon low, use anima, take, you know, like usually Snake Eyes has a bunch of little critters all over the field, so there's almost always like something for me to take. And then the other reason why I like it is because I do the Charmers. So the Light Charmer, obviously, is because you play a lot of lights, but I would say it's even better now because Fiendsmith is light. So this card really got better because you can summon like the Requiem from the grave, you can get the Fiendsmith stuff. So being able to like take your opponent's Fiendsmith cards and use them to link climb is awesome. And then, you know, use anima to go into Gloomy for like the Yubel stuff because there's also a lot of darks in the meta. So regardless of whether my opponent's playing light or dark, I feel pretty set up with that. And then of course, you know, access code package. So really, it can be just any of these. Like it can literally just be anima into this, into this, into this, or this into this. You know, it's really nice to be able to OTK because I feel like sometimes Voiceless has a problem with that. So I didn't really use access code, but like once today. But when it came up, I was really, really happy about it. This is the Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. So this is what you're going to summon off of the Pendulum Graph. I usually kind of summon it in defense mode sometimes to play around like Lightning Storm and stuff. And then Tenpai can't run over it anyway because all the monsters are really weak. But your opponent just cannot activate monster effects in the battle phase. So, you know, you just sit on this and Tenpai looks at you with a sad face, you know, if they can't play the game. And then I'm not gonna lie, I almost never make Chaos Angel because it's such a high level. But if you typically the only way that you're kind of making this is if you have low and you have Trios. But in the event that you do need it and you can go into this, I mean, it banishes a card as soon as it's played. And since you make it with lights, you know, it's unaffected by monster effects. And that includes all synchro monsters. So if there was a world in which you had both of these at the same time, they would both be protected from monster effects. So that's really nice. Typhon, this came up today. You know, it's just nice to be able to like run over something big and beefy or break a board because it doesn't target. The Floodgate effect doesn't really come up that much. And in fact, it can actually kind of hurt you. Like, because if you have your Skull Guardian and it's gaining attack points, you cannot use Skull Guardian under your Typhon. So you got to be really careful with that. But it's definitely too good, like, not to play. And then to round it off, so we have this and this. So I'm not playing IP Masquerena because pure Voiceless does not put a lot of monsters on the board. So I wanted to just focus on, like, just powerful cards in general. Hence why I play, like, 2 SP Little Knights and, like, 2 Animas. You know, because those are cards that can like are just either really good on their own or help link you into other cards. IP, it's like if I can make 2 monsters, I would just rather go into like SP, you know, because your board state is always really just like Low and Skull Guardian and maybe like a third monster. So like, why would you want to get rid of Low and Skull Guardian for IP? Maybe if you're playing like Melodious or something that spans the board a lot more, I would say yeah, but this deck does not span the board, so I don't play IP at all. This is kind of more for like, you know, like the skill drain, the stun decks, you know, like if someone has you under rivalry. I had a game once in which I was rivalry under like fairy. So I did like diviner and low, and then I made this, and then I was able to like pop the skill drain. So that's pretty nice because it tributes itself for cost. And then this is, you know, for board breaking too. Like if you are going second and you lead off with Diviner and you just want to pop one of your opponent's cards, then it's great. You know, I really like that a lot. So getting into the side deck, I play, well, the third one's here somewhere, yeah. 3 Solemn for going first. It's a non-once per turn Omni Negate that your opponent can't respond to. It's really bad in time. But I feel like the game, unless you're playing against stun, it doesn't really tend to go into time. So that was never an issue at all today. So I wasn't really worried about that. I definitely did resolve this like 3 times, and I've always won because of it. I'm really worried about like evenly matched and like Dark Ruler No More. So because I can't, really. I can't even respond to Dark Ruler No More at all, and then evenly matched, they usually have baited something else out first, and then they evenly me. So this is to protect me, from those board breakers. And then I really leaned heavily into a Bestial package. So for like the Fiendsmith stuff, the U-Bell stuff, so I played 4 Bestials total. One in the main and then 3 here. At first it was just 2, but I mean, there's just so much like special summoning from the grave and like doing this, that, and the other. So I wanted to have 3 different names. And one of my games, I had like I had 2 Bestial Druid Worms on the field against one of the Snake Eye Fiendsmith players, and he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because either one that he got rid of, he would still lose a monster. And then Baldrake is kind of randomly like an inboard piece if you happen to draw it, because you tribute one of your light or dark monsters, and then you banish a special summon monster your opponent controls. So that's pretty nice. And then the rest is like I have 2 barriers. So I used to play 3 barrier, and then I cut one of them for the Bestial Baldrake. It's really only good against Tempai. And then I guess maybe U-Bell, but if I'm going against U-Bell, I'm just doing my Bestials. Like I'm not gonna do Barrier at all. The only thing that would really stop with them is like I guess the Fiendsmith Lacrimosa plays and like the U-Bell summoning itself, but still not necessarily good enough to really swing the tempo in your favor because they still like link climb like crazy. So I just prefer Bestials in that matchup. This is only for Tempai, and like that's kind of it. And then for my board break of choice, evenly matched, I was really torn between like this and Dark Ruler No More. Obviously, they can't respond to Dark Ruler No More, but the problem I was having with Dark Ruler No More is I would negate my opponent's board, but then I still couldn't get over what they actually had. So I wanted to just try to simplify the game state as much as possible. And so that's where evenly came from, because whatever they banish face down, there's absolutely no way that they're getting that back. And then I play like 3 Cosmic, Cyclone, and then like the 1 Duster. I guess if you wanted to play, like a 3rd Dimensional Barrier, you could maybe take out one of the Cyclones and just have these 3. But if you ever go up against like Runic, Stun, or whatever, you definitely want to have like as much Spell and Trap hate as possible. And these didn't really come up in any of the other matchups like that. I never felt like I had to side them against the Fiendsmith with the Snake Eyes. They're not, even though they can make the Floodgate plays, I don't really see them doing it too often. So I just rather still use the evenly matched against that. Okay. And that's the whole deck. I was very happy with how I performed today, and I can't wait to play in it for the rest of the weekend at Nats. Very happy with it.
Zach won. He's undefeated, so he'll be joining at Nationals tomorrow. And I won some sick prizes.
Play mat,
deck box.
I got this play mat. I got the Vanquish Soul play mat, and I got the deck box. So
yeah, he plus.
I plus, and I got some boxes, and I got 2 QCRs. So I'm just balling today.
All right, y'all be good.
Y'all be good.